which blends in really nicely with like Nick's talk, right? About why see the land as a space for one crop, why see the person as a place where only one thing blossoms. Right?
And there's a TED that, either before or during this that I really, the danger of just one story.
Yeah.
And thinking that people are just one story, so.
Yeah, cool. Tony Monfiletto is another colleague of mine from a school in Albuquerque who will be talking about public-private partnerships in education that are not charter schools, right? But like the school that he runs in Albuquerque was set up by the Associated General Contractors of New Mexico as an investment in the future of their industry, right? To provide, they put up all the money so that kids are graduating from high school with a much better understanding of the construction industry, and now they're getting ready to launch one in the healthcare industry as well in Albuquerque. So they're charter schools, but they're charter schools that are sort of being set up by industries to really say, we know it's in our interest to spend this money to get a better quality employee or to get people who are college bound in our professions and in our fields. So he's going to be talking about that public-private partnership concept.
Jim Tolstrup?
Jim, all right, and we're on the promise stuff. Jim is talking about, his talk is titled Conservation is Dead. All right, and it's why the conservation movement is no longer enough to deal with environmental issues. All right, we can't just conserve anymore. We have to get more radical. We have to, regrow, replant, it's a lot of stewardship stuff.
Will it be wildlife stuff too, or is that?
Yeah,
okay.
It's not just plants;
Cool.
it's wildlife stuff. Yeah,
And
it's
Randy Menzer?
Randy Menzer is a last-minute addition, and I haven't seen his proposal yet. But he is head of an organization called Ameribotics, which is a robotics organization in Colorado Springs. And they participate, maybe you guys know about this, I don't know any details, but it's an open source software robotics competition that is done primarily online globally around the world, right? So kids tap into open source software. They exchange ideas with each other, sort of like what you're talking about with Amy's students and the batteries, right? And whichever team of kids produces the coolest robotics idea ends up being the world champion,
Cool.
right? And so when we were looking at all the talks and putting together the final schedule, we kind of felt like there was a technology component that needed to be added. And so Kim happened to bump into this guy at a meeting down in Denver and said, hey, we're doing this, would you be interested? And we called him and he said, absolutely. So I'm waiting to see what his actual talk will be about, but it's going to be something about how American youth can realize the promise of open source software and sort of gain back a competitive edge that we've lost. Because right now most of that software is coming from China and Korea.
And we were talking today about kids, in essence, taking over the city in a good way, but also making their own apps and things, which fits in perfectly with that.
And fits in really nicely with Sierra's talk. She next, or is there one more before her?
Neil, there's a couple before her. Neil Almy.
Neil Almy is from Prairie Star, which is a developer in northern Colorado that is trying to build net zero emission housing developments. So they use no more energy than they throw off.
Net zero.
Net zero. Yeah, I'm trying to think how. I've been doing too many different things today.
Yeah, and you're on the camera too.
That's okay.
So Irene Fortune.
Right. Irene Fortune is going to be talking about the possibility of a public transportation rail network all over the North Front Range.
Nice.
Right. We definitely want her to talk to you, Christian, because part of what you're imagining this space to be would be multiplied if it were connected by a more efficient public transportation system.
So we didn't need cars.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
The organization she represents is called Front Range on Track, and it's mostly about trying to build a real rail network in northern Colorado that would allow us to hop, like in Europe, right? Hop on a train and get to the nearest city easily.
Sierra's next.
And then Sierra's next, which in setting these things up, Sierra, I thought after hearing someone talk about the idea of networking northern Colorado with rail.
Oh yeah, nice.
It's a nice segue into, and here's what I would do with that if I could just hop on a train and go anywhere around northern Colorado, right? As opposed to have to get in a car or work out transportation, But you'll be talking about your mentoring experiences and all the connections that you've made doing that. And then our final speaker,
John Daggett.
John Daggett, is from Embrace Northern Colorado, which is an environmental tourism kind of organization. He's just going to be sort of wrapping everything up, talking about how it all fits together.